Hello, Maverick fans. Welcome to another edition of the Mavpuckcast, the season finale of the Mavpuckcast. I am John, here with Bridget, and today we have a special guest participant, Brent Bean, who is at OMavs Hockey Fan on Twitter. Brent is one of our great UNO hockey fans. He's a member of the Red Army. Bridget and I met you, Brent, when you were still a student at UNO. I'm trying to remember back. Do you remember when we met you? Was it that bus trip that we took with the Mav Maniacs up to South Dakota State for the Omaha basketball game?
I believe so. I think that was like the first official time that Alexis and I like walked up or whatever, and we said hi and look where we're at now.
Look where we're at now. We've had a lot of fun hanging out with you guys on road trips over the years. We had a great time attending your wedding a couple summers ago. That was a lot of fun. We got to know your mom and dad from that. So very, very cool. It's been a lot of fun. And Brent has been persistent over the years, offering to be on the Mavpuckcast. And since Jason was out of town for this last weekend's series against North Dakota in the first round of the NCHC playoffs, I thought we got to have Brent on because Brent was actually in the arena, and I don't think you could appropriately talk about that series without having been there to experience, because it was something else.
It was certainly a hockey weekend.
It definitely was. Brent is also one of our founding members on the Mavpuckcast this season. And as I'm talking, you are seeing a scroll of all the founding members for the Mavpuckcast this season. And if you would like to be on the scroll, a minimum donation of $18 will get it done. Visit mavpuck.com/donate. You'll also see this scroll at the end of each episode. I have some kind of sad news from the UNO hockey fan front. One of our longtime followers and friends, CJ Mack, I just learned on Facebook from his brother Joel, who is one of our founding members, and I've known him for years. CJ apparently died today, and we don't know the circumstances. Joel didn't have a lot of information on Facebook, so very sad to hear that. They sit right below us at hockey, and I know when Bridget throws streamers after goals, CJ tries to catch them. But yeah, sad news, Bridge.
Very sad to hear about CJ. I will always have fond memories of him in conjunction with Mavpuck. He would post his goal videos to the old Mavpuck message board, and he celebrated like nobody else, and was actually responsible for videos getting banned from being posted online for a period of time. So CJ, we will always remember you for that.
Yeah, this was this interesting piece of news for you, Brent. 15 years ago, he had like I don't think he was using a phone, because this was back when everybody was still using the flip phones, like the Motorola Razr phones. And so he had maybe like a flip cam that he brought in. And so he would record these shaky goal videos, and he would post these clips, and he would just get so enthusiastic about everything. And so he would post them, embed them on the Mavpuck message board. And then they started making announcements at the games that you could not record videos anymore. So I thought that was kind of funny when we were playing downtown. That wouldn't work today. Everybody's got a fantastic camera and video camera on their phone. But yeah, that was one of our favorite stories. So we're going to miss him. A really good guy. And it was very sad to hear that news. So our condolences to Joel Mack, his wife Mary, and Walter Mack, good UNO hockey fans who we've known for years. But we may not want to, but we've got to talk about that NCHC quarterfinal series against North Dakota, best of three series. It's our second time in the last 3 years playing North Dakota at Baxter Arena in the first round, 2 weekends in a row. We played up at North Dakota the last weekend of the regular season, and as fate would have it, the way that the standings worked out, North Dakota is coming to Omaha. Tanner Ludke returned to the lineup up there at North Dakota for that season-ending series, and he was back for his third game in a row on Friday nights. First period Friday, 30 seconds into the first, Harrison Israels puts UNO up 1-0 on the power play. Stang shot that thing in from the First National Bank logo. Great position to be in. I think, Bridge, you had pointed out that UNO, after last weekend's series up at North Dakota, the team that scored first had won 30 out of 35 games in that series against North Dakota.
That's a great stat, but we're going to just throw that whole thing out the window for this series. So it was great to get the first goal, but it means nothing.
Brent, how are you feeling after that first goal? We score early. I was feeling good. How are you feeling at that point early in the game?
You know, it's funny. I missed it. I was like briefly on my phone. I keep track of the game on my own Twitter as well. I had finished hitting send. Had to deal with Alexis and Kenzie. They needed my attention. And next thing I knew, everyone's cheering. And I look up and we scored. And I was just like, all right, cool. It was so quick. Like, I was just happy we had the power play. And next thing we knew, we were up 1-0. And I was like, all right, we got life.
Yeah, exactly. That's the life of a parent with a young family at UNO hockey games. And yes, if you follow Brent on his OMAV's hockey fan account on Twitter during games, he does updates. He doesn't just update during the UNO games. He'll update during other NCHC games going on. So I understand that. Bridget handles the Twitter duties for us. I'm trying to get clips. And there have been times over the years before I tried to get little video clips to spice up this podcast that I would sometimes tweet for Bridge. And I got to tell you, I missed a lot of stuff. So I don't know how you guys do that. But anyway, 1-0 early. And then 7:09 into the first, North Dakota's Jaden Perron ties it up on the power play. The shot was from the slot. It was 1-1 early. So it looked like this might be a back and forth type of game. But then in the latter stages of that first period, Jacob Gavin puts UNO up 2-1. Riskin Israel set that up off a North Dakota turnover. So it's 2-1. UNO after one. I thought it was a good position to be in. Brent, how are you feeling after that first period, having the lead going into that first intermission?
Pretty confident. The boys were playing well. Each team traded an early power play goal, so that, kind of evened itself out. And then Gavin was able to find the icebreaker heading into the second period. So I felt pretty good having that 1-goal lead, especially being in the playoffs. You need that lead for some confidence going forward. So I felt pretty good.
So we go into that second period. Boy, the first 5 minutes, guys, in that second proved to be pretty problematic for UNO. North Dakota scored 2 quick goals. 2:40 into the second. UND's Cade Littler ties it up 2-2. Assist to the NCHC official on that, whose blade redirected the puck. Frustrating position to be in. And then a little over 20 seconds later, Littler scores again, makes it 3-2. It was 3-2 after 2. Well, what'd you guys think? That was a rough little stretch there for UNO. Bridge, what'd you think? And I will note that Cade Littler is the son of former USHL coach Bliss Littler.
Yeah, Bliss Littler was head coach of the Lancers from 2008 to 2012. But Bliss was born and raised in Minot, so he had UND blood in him, little Cade. I wasn't feeling terrible about that because, again, I'm listening to this stat, of the first goal scorer wins the game. So I wasn't worried at that point. I will mention, though, there was a lot of extracurricular activity, and this is one of the reasons why we wanted to have Brent on here, because there was so much stuff that happened away from the puck, behind the play, that if you were just watching on TV, there was almost like a whole second game that was happening with UND players laying on Brock Bremer, sitting on Jimmy Glenn all throughout the whole weekend. There was a lot of that. And I think a lot of that, happened in the second period too. That was a scramble in front of the net that led to the puck going off of the official skate. And so I wasn't feeling bad, but I also wasn't feeling great. How about you, Brent?
There was just 3 or 4 minutes where things went from really confident to now we're down a goal and trying to come back. So heading into the third, I felt confident. It was only 1 goal game, 1 shot, and we're back in this. And as we'll find out soon, needed maybe a couple more shots to try to get the equalizer.
We really dominated that third period and had a number of chances. North Dakota, the story for them in that third period really was their defensive game. They did not, I think, did they even get any shots in that third period?
No, it was 17-0 in the third for Omaha. They had a couple chances, but they weren't credited with any shots on like the one offensive zone pressure that they had.
It was crazy. We just couldn't get anything in the net. Really frustrating. We were hoping they'd be able to get it done down the stretch. But North Dakota goes on to win the first game 3-2. Certainly a frustrating outing for UNO.
Yeah, and UND iced the puck numerous times. There were like 3 straight plays where they iced the puck, and then when we pulled Simon, still couldn't get anything done. I mean, I don't know what more we could have possibly, done in that third period other than score a goal.
Right. Yeah, there was one chance that stood out to me since I said on the shoot twice and Israel's to risk. There was a shot right point blank, and Sentenfelter just got it. His left shoulder got just enough of it that it went up and over. But if he wasn't there, if it was a split second before, it was in. But that's just hockey. That's how it comes down to it sometimes.
A number of chances, like you mentioned, Brent and Bridge. You talked about I think I saw more icing the puck in this weekend series than I saw in the entire series. That just became the strategy. They're like, just get the puck out of the zone. It doesn't matter if we're back here for a face-off. We ended up winning the face-off battle on Friday nights. If my recollection of the replay board is right, 41-21. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but we outshot North Dakota 33-18, if I recall correctly. So yeah, we won those key stats, but lost that first game. So we go into game 2 full of hope, full of promise. Tanner Ludke was out of the lineup Saturday night. Going into that first period, UNO scores again. Miles Hillman puts UNO up 1-0. The shot was in the slot. They reviewed it for goaltender interference. Mavs up 1-0. UNO up 1-0 after 1. But did you guys think that was a goaltender interference? Brent, we'll start with you. Did you?
Guess what? I missed this one too.
What?
I had some dad duties that I was dealing with, and next thing I knew, we were celebrating a goal, and I saw everyone kind of looking around, and I was desperately seeking a review, which that was something I noticed this weekend too. Is after a few weeks of getting reviews on the board, the first couple of both games, I think they didn't show at all until they made a decision. I don't think I saw one until after they had announced that it was a good goal. I mean, obviously, as an Omaha fan, I'll take the good goal. The refs obviously made their decision, and we can be happy that they made that decision.
As we are talking here, I will be showing you that play over and over again in slow motion, so you can decide for yourself if that was goaltender interference. One of the guys on the Midco broadcast, he seemed to think it was interference. I really miss Jake Brandt, who was a former North Dakota player on those broadcasts. He no longer does them, but regardless, 1-0 UNO after 1. So we got a lead going into that second period again. And I'll tell you what, 6:29 into the second, Sam Stang puts UNO up 2-0. The backdoor goal came off a rebound from a Nolan Krenzen shot. I've got to be honest with you guys. I was feeling very confident when we were up 2-0. I'm like, this is it. We're going to Sunday night. Bridge, what did you think of Stang's goal? What did you think of that position early in the second on Saturday for UNO?
Gorgeous goal. Great to get the rebound off of that Krenzen shot. Feeling confident again. That stupid statistic. I'm like, okay, it didn't work last night, but we got the first goal and the second goal tonight. We're going to take this to a game 3. And once again, I'm wrong.
Brent, did you see this goal? It was early in the second. Or Were you getting a snack for Kenzie, or was something going on? What did you this at this point in the podcast, we're just like, Brent, did you see the goal, or were you tending to a family matter down there by the Red Army?
I did see this one as best I could since it was on the far end. As high as we sit, we're close enough to the ice where we can see most of it, but at the other end of the ice where the goal is kind of where the top of the glass meets the net. So sometimes I'll be ducking or trying to stand up and see it. But I did see this one, and not being able to see the puck very well on that end kind of sucked for this goal, because I saw a wide open net and I saw TJ Seftonfelter definitely did not know where the rebound went. So I was very happy when everyone started to celebrate after I saw Sam take that shot. So I did see it, and it was awesome.
Good deal. Yeah. And, we over the years have sat in different locales around the arena. I remember when they were down at the Civic Auditorium, we sat right along the red line like we do now. But downtown at the CenturyLink Center, we sat in a variety of different spots. And I remember for several years, we sat in one of the sections by the Red Army that was on the end. And you're absolutely right. Depending on where you are, it is tough to see some of those goals on the far side of the ice. So 2-0. UNO after 2. I will say this: Omaha had a 5-minute power play opportunity at the 17:23 mark in the second. It carried over into the third. We were all hoping that they would get something done on that all-you-can-eat power play. It wasn't meant to be. Do you guys think that was the kind of the turning point in the game, not being able to capitalize on that 5-minute major?
I think that was the turning point, that they had half of it at the end of the second and half of it to open the third. And, unfortunately, they were the best penalty killers where they couldn't generate anything. I think North Dakota had the better chances at the end of the second. There was no energy to start the third. They didn't get any good scoring chances that I can remember. And the crowd was just out of it at that point. And then it's tough when you have that kind of opportunity up 2-0 to really put the game away, especially in a must win. You don't find the net, you get just a couple shots, and it's tough to keep the momentum going from there.
At the end of the second period, just before the power play for the hit on Gavin, and then during it, the crowd, what I thought was exceptionally loud. I was looking back through my tweets and was talking about, how loud it was in there. So not to capitalize on that power play was a huge missed opportunity, not just to get the goal, but also, like Brent said, to keep the crowd into it.
The big stand in front of Simon where he had those couple saves, and then they kept that, was just before that. So the crowd was totally in it. And to not really have anything before the end of the second, and then obviously, like I said, going into the third, just to kind of come out flat, not get anything going, it was really tough for the crowd to stay in it. Didn't go very well from there.
Yeah, definitely a confidence booster for North Dakota. If we'd gotten that third goal and had been up 3-0, I think it would have been a completely different game in that third period. We go into that third period, 6:10 into the third. Carter Wilkie, again, had a big weekend, 2 big weekends, big weekend up in Grand Forks against us and a big weekend here for the first round of the NCHC playoffs against us. Carter Wilkie narrows the lead to 2-1 on the power play. And then 29 seconds later, Cade Littler again ties it up at 2-2. And that was a tough sequence of events right there, giving up those 2 goals within 30 seconds of one another for them to be able to tie it up. Tough position for UNO to be in, but look, it's 2-2 at that point. UNO had an opportunity to take the lead again. It ultimately didn't happen, despite having some good opportunities. I don't know if you guys would agree with this or not, but I thought in the third period, both nights, North Dakota was really good at locking things down and limiting the opportunities for us. You guys agree, Brent? Agree with that?
Obviously, I think Omaha's Friday night was better than their third period on Saturday for obvious reasons, but I do think that they had the better chances on Friday. Giving up a 2-goal lead on Saturday is certainly going to damper the mood, I'm sure, on the bench. It's just tough.
Yeah, definitely tough. And Bridge, it was a really chippy game all around, but chippy in that third period.
Yeah, and going back to your previous point too, it was uncharacteristic for North Dakota to be that locked down in the third period. I think I saw a statistic from them somewhere where they had given up a number of third period goals. So that was definitely a point of emphasis for them. But you're absolutely correct. It was, chippy throughout the entire two games. Miles Hillman took a hit that was reviewed for a potential major, but because no penalty had been called on it, they said that it didn't merit a major penalty. And I know the North Dakota fans had some complaints about the officiating, especially for the Israel's knee on Sumtenfelter and stuff. But I really thought that Hillman hit was an indication of just kind of the things that happened this weekend. Again, really physical battle between the two teams, but not getting those kinds of calls, again, just kind of takes the momentum out of the Mavs game. I think if there'd been a power play at that point, it might have been a different situation to build upon.
I will say, too, since we're on this little tangent of refereeing, I watched the DUCC game last night on Sunday, and my goodness, was it totally different than our weekend. They were on top of everything. I mean, there were plays that we saw at Baxter this weekend that they were so quick to call. It was tough to watching all these calls being made, and you're just like, that wasn't called in Omaha this weekend. It was very shocking to see the difference in crews, that the calls that they were making last night in Denver and the calls that were or were not made in Omaha this weekend.
I mean, you even go back to that series up at North Dakota last weekend to end the regular season, and like that Friday night game in Grand Forks, they didn't call anything during that game, and I thought maybe it would be a similar type of thing this weekend where they would just kind of swallow their whistles and we wouldn't see anything. But yeah, it was a hot mess. I will tell you, on that Littler goal to tie it up, it was like the pass was timed just perfectly because he was standing right there at the blue line. Could have been close to being offsides, but it was just right for him to take that into the zone. We tried to tie it up at the end of the game, 18-24 into the third on a 3-on-2 rush. North Dakota gets the game-winning goal. That was kind of all she wrote. 3-2. UNO had some chances at the end with Simon pulled. So both games end 3-2, guys. North Dakota beats us in 2 games. I did not see this coming. Going into the weekend, it was hard to get a read on what would happen. Conventional wisdom and what Jason and I picked on last week's episode of the podcast was a 3-game series. They ended up getting swept. What are your final thoughts on this weekend? A tough weekend. Back in 2023, all of us were sitting there at Baxter Arena when we watched North Dakota beat us in 3 games. We had won the Friday game in that series back in 2023. They won Saturday and Sunday. I thought for a while that the Saturday night game this year was going to go to overtime and that we were going to be there till like 1 a.m. With those full period overtimes. But Brent, we'll start with you. What did you think of this series for UNO? A lot of emotions for fans with so many veteran players on the roster, knowing that this would be the last time that we would see them.
What sucks on the game-winning goal is Griffin's shot from the point hits Sam Stang in the back, and North Dakota's off and running on a 3-on-2, like you said, and then it's the trailer that gets them. It's just really unfortunate, and that's. But it's kind of how the weekend went for Omaha. I know, Bridget, I was talking with you before the game on Saturday that Omaha was the better team for like the last 4 games, and they got 1 win out of it. That's how the weekend went, and Omaha just had to capitalize on a couple more chances, and they'd be getting ready to go to St. Paul right now. But it was tough. It really sucked in the moment, and this team deserved a lot more than what they got. But like Coach said in the very short press conference that was posted on Saturday night is, I don't know if they would have made it 3 games. Harrison was pretty beat up, it looked like, at the end of Saturday night. And by the sounds of it, it sounded like it would have been maybe the same result on Sunday. So basically being nearly unbeaten in the second half at home, only to lose 3 of the last 4 kind of sucks. But like I said, I obviously love this team. Getting to watch them play at home in the playoffs is certainly something we're not used to. So anytime we get to, it's awesome. So
go back into that stat about the team that had scored first had won 30 of the last 35 games. So Omaha getting off to a hot start both nights, you thought this is going to go great. But I think the stat that really showed up most was that Omaha didn't score at all in the third period either night. And so that, I think, was kind of the the tale of the weekend. And 10 of Omaha's 17 losses on the season were 1-goal games. Brent, you mentioned Israel's. He got tied up with UND's Weeb in the corner there with about 90 seconds left and had to skate off with one leg. I did check in with Gabe from UNO Sports Information today, and he said, quote, Harrison is fine. So we're hopeful that he will make a full recovery from all of his lower body injuries and go on to a long and productive, fruitful career as a pro Mav. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how much more we had left for a Sunday night game. Like Gab said, somebody's shoulder, somebody's wrist, somebody's knee. I'm guessing it was Harrison's knee, maybe Tanner's shoulder. I don't know. And Harrison had on, I think Friday night, taken a stick to the hand, and he was flexing it at late in the game. So at this time of the year, you have a lot of guys that are beat up, but I'm not sure how many guys we would have been able to field for a third game on Sunday.
Like you said, Brent, we love watching these guys. It's always a lot of fun and tough series, but I've got to ask both of you, who is your player of the week for this NCHC playoff series against North Dakota at Baxter Arena? Bridge, I will start with you. Who was your player of the week?
I thought you were going to start with the guest.
I was going to throw it to you, so you can go first.
There is no pleasing you, Bridge. I'm just telling you, I don't know. Bridge, you're taking control from here on out.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I prepared several because, I didn't know which of us was going to go first, but I'm going to go with graduate forward Sam Stang. He had a knack for timely goals all season long. So this isn't just a weekend honor. This is a, all season honor for him. He finished with 16 goals and 18 assists and was plus 14. And he was one of a couple of guys that played all 36 games for the Mavs. So it was hard to believe that he only played in 7 games with Wisconsin last season. Boy, did they miss out. But Coach Gabinet said it at the preseason Gold Circle lunch. He said Sam Stang would be an everyday kind of player for the Mavs, and he was in the lineup every night and made a huge contribution. And I'm just sad that we only got him for one season, but he's my player of the weekend.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, what else can you say about Sam Stang? 1 goal and 1 assist on the weekend, 16 goals and 18 assists this season. He led the Mavericks in scoring. So Brent, who do you got for us here? I'm nervous now because I don't know who everybody's picking. Normally I put down 2 players here and I'm like, I got a 50-50 shot. Jason may or may not pick who the other person is. So Bridget took the obvious pick off the table, but who do you got for player of the week?
Yeah, so my notes, I put Sam first, comma, of course.
Yeah, me too.
Like you said, he was, I am so happy he decided to come to Omaha and play with Zach again and get his time to really show off the kind of player that he is. And like you said, like show to Wisconsin, like you kind of messed up. But yeah, Sam just overall was the MVP of the season for Omaha. I've got 3 other guys on here, but I think I'm going to go with Jacob Gavin as my player of the week. Another big time goal. He scored quite a bit of timely goals this season, and he got another one this weekend. Unfortunately, wasn't enough, but just been a really strong D-liner for Omaha the last couple seasons. So he is my player of the week.
Yeah, he had a great weekend, and he's had a really solid season this season. I wondered how he would do without Joe LeMay. We always talked about those 2 Quebec defensemen the past couple of years, but he had a really solid season and just a great defenseman for UNO. 7 goals, 13 assists this season. Yeah, I almost picked Jacob as well. I'm glad he stuck around. I didn't know when. I know, you never know when you got those defensemen who kind of grew up and play. Yeah, I didn't know. So great pick there. So two good solid picks. And I'm going to go with Harrison Israels, one of the two transfers in this season from Alaska Fairbanks. He had 1 goal and 2 assists on the weekend. He has 10 goals and 15 assists this season. All four of our top point producers this season, Stang, Risk, Israels, and Erdahl, all four of those guys were portal players. Obviously, we got Erdahl for 2 seasons, but it's crazy to think that those guys, the top 4 point producers on the team this season, were portal guys.
And 2 of them could have been here for 4 years or 5 years.
I know. I know. They've got Brent. They've got to make us, their first stop instead of their last stop, because we could really use those guys. It's great, though. It shows, though, that Omaha has an impact on players that even though they might not come here, that, down the road, still in the back of players' heads, like, hey, these guys showed interest. Let's give them another chance. Absolutely right. We've done a good job the past few seasons with the portal players. You talk about a guy like Sam Stang. You look at a guy a couple seasons ago like Jake Pavanka, really had not done a whole lot at Notre Dame, and he comes in and has a career season here. So I credit the coaching staff. They do a really good job of making these guys mesh and work together. And you both alluded to this, but you talk about how the season started for UNO, kind of that rough patch back in October. Jacob Slipek referred to that as kind of the team's Las Vegas hangover. We go out and we win the icebreaker in Vegas, and then they had that rough stretch in October, but the coaches really found a way to kind of mix and match guys, get things working. It's just great to see those guys come in and have success, because it sends the message to other portal players, come to Omaha and your fortunes might turn around if you were struggling at your previous school. We've got to talk about the NCHC Frozen Faceoff. We're not going to get to talk about Omaha making their second appearance in the row in the Frozen Faceoff. And Bridget and I will not be going, sadly. We've really enjoyed the 2 previous occasions when we went up to St. Paul for that. But Brent, you will be up there again. How many years have you guys gone to the Frozen Faceoff up in St. Paul? And I guess was the Target Center. Did you go to the Target Center years during those years, Brent?
Yes, I will be making my 11th appearance. So I will have been to all of them,
okay,
weather permitting. But yes, all of them in the state of Minnesota.
Early on, they played at the Target Center. How did the Target Center compare to the XL Energy Center? Obviously, the XL Energy Center is a beautiful NHL facility, but how was it in the Target Center during those early? And I can't remember off the top of my head how many years they played there, but how was that?
Yeah, I think it was like the first 5 years, if my memory serves me correctly. Okay. 5 or 6. It was the Target Center. It was kind of, especially at the beginning. I'm getting this part of the year is always fun, like on Facebook and stuff, because I'll get Facebook memories of all the different face-offs and stuff. So for me, like, it started the first year. I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go, and Omaha's gonna be there, and then that didn't happen. And the first couple years I went with my dad. We did like a Timberwolves game the first year because it was at Target Center. So we did like 3 straight days of Frozen Faceoff, and then Timberwolves. And then I've got family up there. So my uncle is a Duluth fan. So he and his buddies went for the first few years. So I got to hang out with them. After the first few years, I was kind of like, well, I kind of have to keep going. Alexa started coming with me, and then my sister Riley, and now we've got Kenzie. Now a few of the Red Army guys come up the last few years. So it's just been one of those things where I just kind of started going, and I was like, I can't stop, because what if Omaha's going, So The comparison between Target Center and XL, like you said, the XL it's so nice. And the past few seasons, we've set up top in the club section. The club section, what they call the club section, the C sections. And it's really nice, especially when you've got no skin in the game, that you can just kind of sit up there and sit by yourself or sit whoever you're with and kind of just enjoy the hockey that gets played. Target Center was pretty fun. I mean, it was certainly an atmosphere the first few years North Dakota made it. Last season, my sister Riley was the one that won the bracket challenge. So she won the big thing. And so our trip is, outside of getting there, is free. So it actually made it really easy to make a decision on if we were going or not last season when she won that. So we're looking forward to it. And Omaha's not there. We're kind of used to it. So it'll be nice to just kind of sit back and watch hockey in what they're calling the last call in St. Paul before we head to campus sites. Going forward, winning your quarterfinal, like, yeah, it's going to be great having home ice the next weekend, possibly, like making the second round. But there's just something about being able to make a neutral site tournament that has made the first 12 seasons just that much more special about winning a best of three. If you win next season, like, great, now you just get to go to someone else's barn, or you get to come back next week. So that's just something I was thinking of. It's going to take a little bit of that excitement away of getting to that neutral site. It's just a little something that's going to be taken away.
Oh, absolutely right. You know, it kind of sucks that these neutral site conference semifinals and finals are going away. You know, some of our favorite memories that we had were the early years of UNO hockey, when UNO was playing in the CCHA and they held the CCHA finals at Joe Louis Arena. And so the first couple of seasons UNO was in the CCHA, UNO made it. We didn't go the first year. We have regretted that ever since. For the last 25 years, we didn't go because we're like, oh, they're going to get, you know, this is the early years of the program. They're going to get to the conference finals all kinds of times. That was totally wrong. But the second year they made it up to the Joe Louis Arena 2 in 2001. And we went up there and it was so much fun. And it was fun, not just because of the hockey, but like, I got to be honest with you, like, downtown Detroit at that point was just, it was a ghost town. There were these large buildings with broken out windows. And we went with our friends, Mike and Kay Carter, and we stayed at a Best Western there. And I remember Bridget was in the restroom and she was coming out of the restroom and the handle fell off the door. So I had to try to come up with some way to get her out of the restroom. I remember before the championship game, UNO didn't make the championship game that year. It was Michigan and Michigan State, if I recall correctly, which kind of happened a lot of those years. We wanted to go eat at Hockey Town Cafe before the championship game, and Bridget wanted to go to Mass on Saturday night before we came back on Sunday morning. So Mike and Kay and myself, we let Bridget go to Mass by herself alone in downtown Detroit. And I'm just like, why did I do that? Oh, I felt
worse. It's worse. I walked like 3 miles each way by myself in downtown Detroit. I am surprised I didn't get murdered. So yes, and I didn't get dinner. You guys had finished by the time I made it back. Yeah,
I mean, in my defense, Bridget told me to go to Hockey Town Cafe, but I felt so terrible. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so self-involved. And I get you on how fun it is to go up for the NCHC Frozen Faceoff in St. Paul. Like, we won tickets from UNO in 2019, and that was the year that North Dakota didn't make it. So we went up for that. We stayed fairly close to the Excel Center. It was so much fun. The weather was great. They had like the little fan fest deal outside with food trucks that we went to. And I think we all understand why they're going with the home playoff sites like the Big Ten has done and whatnot. And it's obviously about the money, but it's going to lose something. And if you're not one of those top 2 seeds in the conference playoffs, it's going to make, making a run through the conference tournament and upsetting and getting that auto bid much more difficult.
There's so many like shenanigans and stuff that happens behind the scenes. Like there's just so much more than the hockey that goes on. Getting to see like other fans from other teams, like Biddy, and there's people that dress up like zebras every year, or if there's a certain team, there's just so much more than the tournament that goes on that it's just one of those things that you're gonna miss.
I guess I'd ask you, Bridge, before we dive into our picks for the NCHC playoffs, since we're talking about how much we enjoy the Frozen Faceoff. What are your thoughts on these neutral site conference tournaments? Because obviously you've been with me to every one we've gone. We went up to Detroit twice, and we went to St. Paul twice for the NCHC finals. So what'd you think?
Well, I agree with Brent. It is about so much more than just what's happening on the ice. And was it last year, Brent, that the guy fell asleep and they piled like all of those cups on his head? Yeah.
Yes.
So again,
Yes.
classic. That was like a whole sideshow in itself, where you're watching to see, is he going to wake up? Are the cups going to fall off of his head? It was exciting. And again, I just think it's such a unique experience for folks who haven't ever been to a Frozen Four. I think the Frozen Faceoff was as close as they were going to get. And it was fairly affordable for folks. I know they have some ticket deals for Minnesota high school hockey folks and try and get them in there. And of course, we can talk about all the conspiracy theories about, the NCHC needing North Dakota there and some officiating shenanigans to make sure that the last call in St. Paul isn't a complete bust. But I do think we're going to lose a lot of that atmosphere when they go to campus playoff sites. And I think you had said, John, I think it's a one night game on a Saturday night. You're not going to have a lot of opposing fans that are going to go from, Omaha to Denver for one game, or Western Michigan to Colorado College, or vice versa, for a single game. So I really think it's going to give home ice advantage to those teams, which I guess you're rewarding them for, but you're losing a lot of what made that run through the playoffs special.
It's also become a topic of discussion about what the NCAA tournament looks like in the future. Do they have it at campus sites or not? And I know people will post pictures from conference playoff games, those semifinal and final games from like the Big Ten, and they'll show the great energetic crowds, but they are home crowds. It's not that neutral site thing. Got to tell you, I really enjoyed reminiscing and talking about that. Brent, I am very impressed that you've been to everyone. And Bridget and I, of course, understand attendance streaks. So I'm down with that. That is very cool that you ended up doing that. But Brent, do you want to break down the semifinal matchups that you're going to be seeing in person up there in St. Paul this Friday between the four teams that moved on to the Xcel Energy Center?
Absolutely. So Friday are the semifinals. The early game, the 4:00 game, will feature the 2 seed Arizona State facing off against the 3 seed Denver Pioneers. 7:30 Western Michigan, North Dakota, which will be a rematch of a few years back when Western Michigan, I believe, upset North Dakota to make the championship game. And Denver going in their 11th time, going to try to be the first back-to-back conference tournament champions. No team has done that, which is very impressive. It shows just how tough it is to win the conference tournament in the NCHC.
Let's take a look at these games. So I'll start with you, Bridge. What are your predictions for the two semifinal games, and then what's your championship pick? Who do you think will win the NCHC Frozen Faceoff Championship?
Well, I see Arizona State over Denver in that first game. I think that it hurt Denver having to go to 3 games. And especially, they scored a lot of goals, but maybe they didn't save very many for this matchup. But like you said, Arizona State is very motivated. They are not secure in the NCAA tournament, where Denver is, right? And so they have some motivation, I guess. They have some motivation to make something happen. I see Western over North Dakota in the nightcap. Like you said, they're playing for their lives, and I think their lives end on Friday. And then I see Western over Arizona State in the championship game on Saturday. What about you, Brent?
Very similar. As you said, two of the teams, one in each game, is fighting for their season. Arizona State has to win the auto bid. I did some of the pairwise predictor or whatever on USCHO today, and if they don't win, they would need a lot of help, and I just don't think there's enough out there to help them. So they need the auto bid to even make the tournament, even after the season that they've had, with 3 wins over Denver, and they're sitting on the bubble going into the semifinals. So I think Arizona State, Denver will be very good. I think Arizona State, like you said, I think they've got a little bit more to play for, and I think that having one less game under their belt, like you said, is going to help them. They've got a lot of motivation, and they've proven that they can beat this Denver team. So I think Arizona State advances in the 4:00 game. And then I think Western Michigan beats North Dakota as well. Western has just been so dominant over the course of the season. They've got a really good tandem in the back with Camro and Hampton Slukinski, second and third team all NCHC. So I think they've just got way too much over North Dakota. And then Western and Arizona State in the final, I'm not really sure. It's a really big toss-up. I think I'll go with Western just because, again, they've just been really good. But I think Western comes out on top. I think Arizona State misses the tournament despite having a really amazing season. But something certainly to build on going forward.
Like you guys, in that early game between Arizona State and Denver, I'm going to go with Arizona State. And like we talked about, they're sitting 15th in the pairwise currently. They are right on the cusp of being like the first team out when you factor in some of those auto bids in the conferences where the teams just aren't as strong, like Atlantic Hockey. So I've got to go with them. I've been impressed with what Greg Powers has done with the team. He talked before the season how they brought in a lot of veteran fifth-year type players, kind of like UNO has done the last couple of years, because they wanted to hit the ground running in the conference. They wanted to make a championship run. And I think if you look at some of the talented forwards that they have, like Artem Schlang and Cullen Potter, they're a really talented offensive team. That's been the story for them this season. And it'll be interesting to see if Denver has an answer for that. And then in the primetime game, like both of you, I've got to go with Western Michigan too. I've been really impressed with what Pat Ferschweiler has done with that team. And Brent, you mentioned the 2 goaltenders. It's rare that a alternating goaltender strategy works, but you've got Cam Rowe, the 5th year, with Hampton Slukinski, the freshman, and both of them have been very talented, very solid in net. And they've just got a lot of talented skaters on that roster. So like both of you, I've got Western and Arizona State in that championship game, but I've got to diverge a little bit here. I'm going to go with Arizona State. I mean, it might be too much to have them, this be their first year in the conference and for them to win their first appearance in the NCHC Frozen Faceoff. But I'm going to go with them just because I think when you look at Western's a lock for the NCAA tournament. Now it's just about seeding. Arizona State is fighting for their lives. And I think that Greg Powers will have them going. It's been really impressive to see what he's done with that program. He was their coach when they were a club program, and he's ushered them in through the Division I era. So it's been pretty cool. So be fun to see. Brent, I'm envious of you. You get to be there. I had a couple of topics that were just good topics for discussion. I mean, this episode might be 2 hours long, Brent. I hope I'm not keeping you up here. I want to ask both of you, and Brent, I'll start with you. What was your favorite moment or memory as a UNO hockey fan for the 2024-25 season?
I tweeted about it before, I think last weekend's series, the end of the regular season. The Jacob Gavin's winner in overtime in Vegas to beat Minnesota was probably up there, top 5 memories like all time of being a Maverick fan. being able to go out there with family, beating Minnesota, Simon Cozy having, just a career day, like just for all of that to come together in a tournament championship is tough to beat. We were fortunate enough that we kind of just said, whatever, and we made the trip to California happen with Kenzie, and got to go to Disneyland, and that was a lot of fun too. But I think the Icebreaker Tournament Championship is probably my favorite moment of the season.
A lot of UNO fans made that trip to start the season, and yeah, it was cool that you guys got to go with your family. Your parents were out there as well, and it was kind of like Bridget and I one afternoon, we just rode the monorail around and we stopped to look for something to eat, and we ran into your mom and dad at the food court at one of the casinos, and I don't think it was one of the places you guys were staying at, so that was a lot of fun to run into them. Yeah, a great memory for sure. Bridge, what was your favorite moments or memory as a UNO fan this season?
Well, you're well aware that I am a huge fan of hockey in the desert. So I would echo, Brent's love of Las Vegas. I absolutely love the Cactus Cup, especially our hotel. We stayed at the team hotel for 3 of the teams, not UNO, but the 3 other teams playing for some reason. And I would stay at that hotel again. It was absolutely gorgeous, getting to enjoy the weather while with hockey. You and I have been to Marquette, Michigan, and St. Cloud, Minnesota, which again is lovely, but is nowhere near desert hockey. But I would have to say my favorite memory of the season was when we were down in Tempe. We got to experience UNO playing ASU in ASU's first ever home game in the NCHC. So they had commemorative pucks for that. And it was just a really neat atmosphere. We had obviously been down in Tempe in January of last year for the tournament there. But coming back for a regular season series in November, the weather was gorgeous. Like I said, we had some fun with the fans down there. We were part of the UNO Alumni Association pregame event on Saturday night, and we won in that first game versus ASU for their first home game at Mullet Arena. So I am a huge fan of hockey in the desert. Can't wait to make it back. Got a little tip that it might be February of 2026. So I've got all those weekends blocked out already in my calendar. And I am planning on making that an annual tradition when ASU is our travel partner.
Yeah, we're pretty consistent on this, you guys. I will tell you, I enjoyed visiting Vegas for the first time, but I will say this, like we have family members who go to Vegas every few years. They love it. For me, like a little Vegas goes like a long way. It was not really my vibe, but it was pretty fun to start the season out there with so many UNO hockey fans. And it was cool to get 2 wins and win the Icebreaker tournament to start the season. I'm going to echo both of your sentiments on the Cactus Cup. That was super fun. The weather was great. Acrisure Arena was a really beautiful AHL facility. It's too bad more people didn't make the trip. I think a lot more people would have from Omaha if we hadn't played in that Icebreaker to begin the season. But Palm Spring was great. Bridget and I took a side trip on Thursday over to Laguna Beach. It was kind of cool and foggy that day, which was weird, but it was still a lot of fun. I got to go with you, Bridge. I'm going to go with the series at Arizona State that we went to in November. We went out a day early, which was a lot of fun, and it was great. We chilled out Wednesday and Thursday. We had a pool day because the weather was nice enough to do that. And I love that Arizona State's going to be our travel partner when St. Thomas joins the conference coming up. And so a lot of great moments. We got to go shopping, eat dinner at some fun places. The games were both fun. I think it was fun being there for UNO to kind of get off of that losing streak and get a big win on Friday nights out there at Mullet Arena. So it's a lot of fun. Brent, did you go to the holiday tournament out in Arizona State last season or no?
No, we did not. Both the last 2 times that Omaha was down there, we were thinking about it. If we hadn't gone to Vegas and we weren't planning on doing California as well, we probably would have fit it in. But um, now that I know when to kind of plan for next season, it's definitely probably one of the next trips we take, depending on anything else that might come up. But it's definitely one of the trips that we're going to take probably next couple seasons.
Yeah, you guys will have to go sometime. That'll be fun. And now that you won't be attending the Frozen Faceoffs in St. Paul, man, maybe you can make plans to do that. It'll be interesting to see. Bridget at the first dinner with the Mavs this year asked about potentially playing over in Ireland in the Friendship Four at some point down the road. So that might be coming up in the next couple of seasons.
I think 2 years.
2 years? Is that what they're?
And we've decided, not much of my decision, not that I'm against it, but whenever that is scheduled, whenever that is official, we are going. So
we're all going to be getting our passports.
Yes. Yes.
Let's hope
yeah. Alexis, as soon as we heard that at the dinner, we were like, Alexis said, I hope you know we're going to that. So it's planning has started.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be fun to. I've never been out of the country, so it's UNO hockey that's it's taking me out of the country. And kind of on this note about your favorite memory, looking at the team, what's your biggest takeaway from the 2024-25 season? And Bridge, I'll start with you this time. What's your biggest takeaway from this season?
So we kind of alluded to this earlier when we were talking about that stretch in October and into early November. But I think my biggest takeaway is that the Mavs need to make sure that they're not overlooking those conference games. And it happened 2 years ago, 2022, 2023. We lost to Niagara. We split with Lake State, split with Alaska Fairbanks, which was fun today. I was reminiscing on Facebook. That was the series when Israel's and Risk were with Fairbanks, and they came in and we had an overtime loss on Friday and then the overtime win with the brawl on Saturday. But it was kind of a key lesson then, and it was a key lesson for us this year, that you can't overlook those non-conference foes if you want to be playing beyond the NCHC playoffs. And I think it's important for fans to remember that Omaha is the host school again in Sioux Falls next year. And so if we want to have a chance beyond what happens in the NCHC, if we want to have a chance through the pairwise to make the NCAA tournament, they can't overlook the importance of beating those non-conference foes, whoever they might be. And next season, we think it might be a trip to St. Louis to face Lindenwood since they came here this season. I've heard that there's the possibility of maybe another home and home series with Augustana, but they can't overlook those non-conference foes if they want to have success next season.
Absolutely right. Brent, how about you?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, just growing on that, those non-conference series really came back to bite us, especially for our run in the second half that we had. Lindenwood, that loss was basically, even before the first half even ended, like our hopes of an at-large were done because of that loss. And Lindenwood ended up losing to Stonehill later in the season. And you just can't have that, because you can't have teams like that. Like you said, whoever they are, you can't have them kind of, influence how your season may end. And what sucks, I made a special little GIF and I was so proud of it. It's like every game matters, every goal matters. And I forgot to post it before the first week. So I posted it the second week, and then they lost 6 straight. So I was like, oh man, I was really beat up about that. And I was so looking forward to it. Like you said, you can't overlook anyone, no matter who you're playing. You have to play like your season depends on winning every game. My biggest takeaway was the power play this year, but the last 3 weekends were just not good enough, obviously. This weekend, the one power play goal was the first goal of the weekend, 30 seconds in, and then they didn't really generate much the rest of the weekend. I know you've talked about it before, Bridge. Charlie Lurie not being in the lineup the last, I think, 3 weekends. I don't know what's going on with that, but the the season that he had before being scratched the last 3 weekends of the season, in my opinion, just doesn't add up. Him being on the power play obviously was a big thing. And from a fan's perspective, it doesn't make sense. Obviously, there's so much more that goes on in practice, on the ice, off the ice. We just don't know. But from a fan's perspective, it's kind of confusing as to why one of the most productive players on the power play wasn't out there when you needed it the most. Outside of that, just being productive on the power play. I mean, the worst aspect of the power play this season was that they couldn't get into the zone. Any opponent that you would watch made it look so easy. And from a fan's perspective, it shouldn't be that hard to, like, especially watching North Dakota on the power play and watching Denver on the power play. Like, it's just, there's got to be some sort of plan as to getting set up. And that's obviously the biggest part of a power play, is getting set up, getting your lanes, finding the passes. But if you can't even get into the zone, shooting it into the corner, and then, like, the biggest thing I saw this last weekend was the guys would shoot it in all the way around the corner and everyone's standing on the blue line still. And it's infuriating, obviously, when, like, Friday night when they had the extra attacker for the last, I don't know, like 2.5 minutes or whatever, didn't really generate much. And yeah, like, they had really good stretches, some, here and there, and especially in the second half. But when they needed it the most, they just couldn't get it going to the degree that they needed it. And then just to kind of grow on that was the penalty kill was so good to start the second half. Obviously the streak, I mean, Omaha was one of the best home penalty kills in the second half. And Arizona State comes in and they go like 4 for 5 or something on the weekend, and that's immediately shut down. And so it just, special teams really came back to bite them in the home stretch. And you certainly hope that it's something that is on the forefront of heading into next season, because, not too long ago, Omaha was certainly one of the best power plays out there, and now it's lacking a bit. So that was my biggest takeaway, was special teams mishaps.
Well, and I think what you guys both talk about, Bridget talks about performance in that non-conference schedule, and you touched on that a little bit too, but you also talked about special teams play this season, being consistent in that, and really locking those things down the stretch is really, really important for the team. And I think what I'm going to bring up as my biggest takeaway, I think kind of affects both of those things, and certainly affect both of those things this season. And I think it's the importance of having a core group of players like the Glyns, the Bremers, and the Krenzens of the world that are on your roster, that form that nucleus from year to year to year. We brought in a lot of freshmen this year, which I think is good. We also brought in a lot of portal players, and we've kind of been depending on those portal players over the last few years as kind of, in many respects, kind of band-aids to kind of fill in some of those big gaps that we've had on the roster. And when you talk about the non-conference schedule, part of the reason that we struggled was because we had so many new guys. Half the roster this season, trying to build some chemistry, trying to mesh, it was rough. And it's tough with these portal players. We've talked a lot about Sam staying this season, and the fact that, we only get him for one season. And coaches like Greg Powers down at Arizona State, Chris Mayotte, Colorado College, and Scott Sandelin at UMD have talked about, they will get some guys from the portal, but they're going to be really focused going forward, building by bringing in those traditional freshman classes and trying to build that foundation, build the culture of the team, because it's hard when you bring in the hired guns to have any sort of consistency, and it's hit or miss. I mean, we've had pretty good luck. Talk about staying, we talk about Pavanka. There are other players who've come in that we really didn't hear from. For example, Aiden Gallagher was a guy, a defenseman who played in both the Big Ten and the CCHA, who had a lot of success. We didn't see much from him this season. It's rough when you're constantly bringing in new players and you're constantly replacing 50% of the roster each season. So it's good to have those core guys, the roll wagons, the Slipicks of the world, those guys are important in helping create your culture and kind of instill that culture in the new players that come in. So I'm hoping maybe we get away from the transfer portal just a little bit, because I think over time, and now that we're past the guys getting that 5th COVID year, it could potentially be the law of diminishing returns. We'll just have to see what happens over the next few years. But boy, we've talked about a lot of stuff today, guys. I'm going to be amazed. I do this on my iPad Pro, and because I have a microphone plugged in, I have no power. So it's amazing how much power. I've got 44% battery life yet. So thank goodness. Bridget's on a smaller iPad upstairs. Who knows whether she'll just disappear at some point. But of course, it's been great having you on, Brent. This was an awesome discussion today. In the next few weeks, there's some exciting stuff coming up. The transfer portal will start heating up. So that's always fun to watch and see who's coming and who's going when it comes to UNO's roster. So we will definitely be talking about that. So stay tuned.
I can't wait to make my last year I made that tracker. I can't wait to see what it looks like this season.
It's gonna be a lot of fun to see who gets there first on Twitter, whether it's us or whether it's you, Brent. It's like a competition. It's like I got to bookmark the AHL transactions page, see if we can get it before everybody else.
If you saw me last year, I literally had Brad Schlossman's tracker.
Yep.
I was just refresh. Yep. Like there was like an hour straight of nothing happening. I was like, okay, I'll put it down now, and then 5 minutes later something happened and I was like, oh my goodness, like that's college hockey now. It's just those big names or whatever just make the off season or preseason just that much more exciting, I guess.
Absolutely. I'm glad you caught that, Brent, because Bridget says there is no off season. There's only preseason, and that's the way that we feel here. Of course, we'd like to thank all of you for tuning in and supporting the Mavpuckcast. Lots of really kind viewers out there who talk about how much they enjoy the podcast each and every year. The contributions of folks like Bridget and Brent and, of course, Jason every season makes such a difference. It's always a challenge to schedule this around work and family commitments. So it's pretty awesome that we are as consistent as we are, that we've done 23 episodes this season. Brent, it's been great having you for your first appearance on the Mavpuckcast. I mean, technically last season when we were at the NCAA tournament watch party, I filmed a little segment for you. So you were on, but you weren't dealing with the heat of doing this podcast. I know it was a little awkward doing 3 people at the beginning doing the rundown, but you guys did a great job. And as always, be sure to follow Mavpuck on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find links to all of our social channels at mavpuck.com. And if you want to follow Brent, follow him at Omav's Hockey Fan on Twitter. Brent, I appreciate interacting with you and Alexis and little Kenzie throughout the season. She is so cute. That girl loves. Yeah, she's
a favorite of everyone. When they missed senior night for Arizona State, and even the players were asking where she was. So she's become a staple between the fans and the players. So it's really awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me on. Like I said, I know I've been nagging you for so long, but I know what you guys have going is great. You guys have a lot more experience with Omaha hockey than I do, but thank you so much for having me on. It's awesome, and I can't wait until next season when we can get back to Baxter and cheer on the Mavs.
Absolutely. You know, we met you back when you were a student, and it's great to see how Bill Pickett and the Mav Maniacs have made just a lot of really good, solid fans who are students coming up through their degree programs at UNO. So that has been pretty awesome. And, you'll get there someday, Brent. You know, we're really lucky that we were seniors at UNO when they announced the program, and that we've been healthy and haven't had too many conflicts over the years to keep that attendance streak all these years. So we really appreciate you. And I've got to say, guys, it's bittersweet. It's the season finale, although I'm hoping to do some episodes this summer. Fingers crossed. I say that every year and then life gets in the way, but until next time, go Mavs.
Go Mavs.
Go Mavs.